So Keith, today we're talking to your buddy Reed Harkness, and you know Reed from Portland, and what group?
Well, I know Reed from phone calls primarily. Reed and I are in an Artist's Way group. We've been working through Julia Cameron's book, The Artist's Way, and that's how we get to know each other. We're in a group of creative people who all kind of get together once a week on a phone call.
And notice I have not been invited to this group.
You are a creative person that I get together once a week and go on walks with. These are creative people that I get together once a week and talk on the phone to. It's a different world.
I think I like our walks. Yeah, I'll stick with those.
Yeah, well, if I can figure out a way to walk and talk.
Not that you're inviting me to the group.
No, you're not invited to the group. But that's okay. They're not invited to these walks except as individuals, which is what we did with Reed.
Right now in this episode.
This is what's happening right now. Worlds colliding.
This is favoritism. But I think you're going to enjoy this conversation with Reed Harkness.
On your left.
You're listening to Doc Walks with Ben and Keith. Here we are. We are back at it. We're walking through East Austin. We're on the trail. This is the Boggy Creek Greenbelt. And so, of course, this trail was made famous by Doc Walks episode 7, Honey Corn Peppermint.
Tens of people know this trail from
I think it's a plaque.
Our previous
I believe there's a
episode.
plaque up there. And so we're walking through East Austin. It's a beautiful summertime morning. And Ben, I'm pleased to introduce you to my friend, fellow filmmaker, visiting Portlander. So what they call them, Portlanders?
Sure, call us Portlanders.
Reed Harkness. Ben, meet Reed.
Reed, so great to meet you. Thanks for doing this.
Hey, it's good to be here.
Yeah.
And be walking and see how you make a crazy futuristic podcast with a lot of little tiny cameras.
The future is now.
We are living in the future, guys. This is it.
In a way, we are living in the future because people will see this weeks after we record it because we have a number of episodes in the queue. So the future was now a moment ago. It continues. A new future is now again.
Whoa.
And again.
This is already getting very meta.
I want to do a deep dive here, but before we do, I just wanted to I want to do something. I want to set it up a little bit more. You, Reed, are the director of a feature documentary, Sam Now, that you worked on for decades. You got funded through ITVS, premiered on Independent Lens, did a theatrical run, is currently available up on the Criterion channel, but it was a long road to get to walking down this path right now. Where was the genesis? Like, where was the beginning for Sam Now for you?
Yeah, the movie starts in this world of a teenager trying to make their first films, and that's me. And I didn't, have access to actors. I didn't have access to good equipment. I found a camera in my dad's garage, and I Super 8 camera. I didn't even know how to use that. I didn't know how to work with film. But I started trying. I grabbed my brother as somebody to be on camera and started making my first films. I really enjoyed that process, so I started making a series of short films. These are not documentaries, but it starts to document Sam getting older because I'm making a film with him every year. Sam 1 through 5.
Yeah, in the movie it is. It's every year. So were you guys doing those like in the summer?
I was inspired by the Up series. I had seen 7 Up, and I was like, there'd be something really cool if I could just like kind of capture Sam as he's growing. But in the time of making those movies, my stepmom was like, she was so supportive. She would just be like packing up some food or like helping us get ready. Like she was the ultimate kind of cool mom who would kind of cheerlead for creative expression. And I had moved out of the house when she left, but it just rocked my family. And
well, wait. So for people who haven't seen it, explain the central mystery, the central conflict of the movie.
Sure. So, year 2000, Joyce just leaves mysteriously. Nobody knows anything.
Joyce is Sam's mom, not your mom, but your half brother's mom.
Correct, yeah. And everybody's like, okay, she's gone. She must have just gone on a personal retreat or something. She must have needed to go and, connect with her family, or like there's, all the normal things come up. And then it starts to get scary because she doesn't return. She doesn't call. Nothing happens. And the police get involved. I don't know how to. We just
We don't need to. You would go for it, but let's.
Okay.
Because I don't want. I will tell you. I'm super excited to talk about Sam now. I'm super excited to talk about the techniques,
Sure.
the timeline, the difficulty in funding, the landscape, pitching a personal story like this, what you show people, how you keep going on it, how you know it's over when it's real life. Like there's so many elements,
Sure.
so many facets.
Well, I'll just give you the, this like catalyst is like mom leaves, police are called, they get back to us saying, we found her, she's not being held against her will, and she doesn't want to talk to any of you. So at that point, everybody's just like, okay, this is weird, we don't know what to do with this, but we don't really have another option, so everybody just lets it go. And years pass.
Sorry, excuse us.
In fact, like 3 years pass, and in that time my brother is like started to have all these problems with school. My other brother Jared is like dropping out. Sam's struggling. It's really rough.
And I have to say, as a viewer, it's so hard to empathize with this character, because as a father of 2 young kids, I just can't fathom the idea of, no matter how in pain you are, leaving your children, to just disappearing from your children's life in a time when they still need you.
Yeah,
is really
I've got
intense.
4 kids, and I feel similarly. But also, like, I'm a director and a cinematographer, and I have to go away for work sometimes. And like right now is one of those times that I've been away from my family for 8 days, and it's I feel it in my heart so strongly.
Yeah.
It just weighs on me.
Yeah.
I will also say though, as like a fan of what you've done with this movie, I don't think we're being asked to sympathize with the character. Like, and I think like your balance that you strike with presenting Sam's point of view and really your point of view on this whole situation leaves like space to say like, we don't understand Joyce's point of view, and so it comes off without judgment, I think, especially for the first half of the film when it's really just an open question. And I embraced the opportunity to not project too much into what was going on until the text, kind of wants to let us in on what's happening. And I thought like that's a testament to you and your edit, because we have a bias against parents who abandon their children, I think rightfully so, and I think it's like quadruply so for women, which is like a story you just don't see in media. Mm-hmm. And when you do, it's a story that makes the news versus the dad that abandons the family, which is a story that is happening literally in houses we're walking past right now.
It's far more common.
Yeah,
for sure.
And so anyway, I don't want to be contentious against Ben's statement of like he having a hard time sympathizing, but it was something I was worried about like right when it first happened, because I had that initial pang of like frustration and anger as a parent, as a feeling person, and then it was kind of replaced with something that comes across through you, Reed, because your voice speaks through the film, and it's that you're very tender and you're very gentle in both the way that you handle the adventure aspect of this, the way that you handle your brother, and eventually the way that you handle Joyce once spoiler, you guys do find her. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, yeah. So the film is from my point of view. It's like everything in there is shot from one lens or another. It's like every format of camera, but it's so like if you could imagine, kind of being an older brother for a second and seeing your younger brothers, go through something like this, and then you can if you could imagine like what it would be like if, you know, your younger brother was like, do you want to help me find her? You know, what might you say? What might you do?
Right. And is that how it happened? Did he ask you to help, or was it more, were you encouraging him to go find her, or what was
It's
that,
a little
what were those
bit
conversations
murky.
like?
How it came up was, it was a taboo conversation. Sam had been, at this time, you know, 3 years had passed, and he had been asked 1 million times by 1 million people, where's your mom? Have you heard from her? And he had learned to shut it out and just bury it, shut it down, just like, no, just don't talk to me about that. But we had this relationship that had grown in our filmmaking, and we'd been making these Sam films, and we had been going on all of these adventures with cameras, and it was something that both of us grew to bond and love. And so one day I was walking with Sam. We were actually hiking, kind of like this. We were hiking up a mountain, and Sam was suggesting a bunch of ideas for the next film we were going to make that were really immature and involved robots and heroes and stuff, and
we should probably stop here and say these films, his character is called the Blue Panther, so he's playing like a version of like a superhero.
About lucha libre.
Yeah, in these
Ninja?
shorts that you guys are making.
That's good. I like that description. And so
these were very like you said, these weren't documentaries. These were like playful childhood sort of like superhero films.
Sam's the youngest in the family, and is also the clown and the entertainer, and he loves to put on a costume. He loves to put on a show. He loves to make people laugh. And he's also somebody who cannot touch into his emotions very easily. So
making these films was a way for you to talk about something
I'm
really
a
deep.
freaking highly sensitive individual, and you'll probably see that in this conversation. But I feel everything, and
and we see an example of that in the film when you go on this quest with Sam to go find Joyce, your stepmom, his mom, who has disappeared. And then you come back and the family, you find her and Sam reconnects with her. And then the family sort of doesn't acknowledge that it happened. But there's this really amazing, tender scene where you get up at a family gathering and explain to the family what has just taken place. And you give Sam the credit for how brave he was to go do this. And it's a really interesting moment because you are the director who's stepping out from behind the camera to give your subject Sam credit for doing something that was really brave in the film. So it's like this really interesting example I haven't seen that really before.
Not to be hyperbolic here, but there are a lot of films where 2/3 of the way through the film, the director emerges from behind the camera, and it's almost always to deal with the fact that the end of the film isn't making any sense to them, and they've got to like kind of take over the narrative to kind of right the ship and realize, oh, the film wasn't really about what the film was about. The film was actually about this other thing, and I can explain it to you very easily.
Yeah. Well, it's like the filmmaker has the arc, whereas in this movie, Sam has the arc along with you.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So not to be hyperbolic, but like of all the scenes I've ever seen of a director emerging from behind the camera at the 2/3 mark, this is the most organic, like the most effective, and the most true version of that. At least it comes off that way.
so now, okay, pulling back, I want you guys to understand that in this time in my life, I didn't believe that I was making a film. Okay?
Right, because you're young, right? You're in your like early 20s?
Early 20s, and I also want you to understand that the way that we talked about, Finding Mom, that came up as a fake film. Like, I said, how about the Blue Panther finds his mom? It's a fake film. That's not like a real thing. That'd be like, how about we act out, something about this. But I didn't even think, I didn't think that would ever happen. I didn't think that we would like make any version of that, except that Sam surprised me by saying yes. That's what he wanted to do. So then I kind of followed through on that lead of like, my brother wants to reconnect with his mom. And then that conversation furthered to, can we do it in 2 weeks? And then I was like, well, sure, I guess I'll take, I'll take time off and I'll just make this happen. And so we,
Time off from doing what? Where were you in your early 20s? What were you doing? You're obviously like have a lot of facility with camera and story, and you're having a lot of fun and a ton of creativity. But who is Reed Harkness, 24 years old? Where are you and what are you doing?
Dude, this is a whole podcast. But I had been laid off as an animator, and I was like doing the stuff I was doing with the Sam films. I had a camera in my backpack at all times, and I would just be going around filming everything with a Super 8 camera. And people started to take notice. I would have these little film shows with my film group, the Tiny Picture Club, and people started to take notice and hire me for things.
Shout out to the Tiny Picture Club.
The Tiny Picture Club. Amazing thing. That was my rock band, was like a bunch of oddball filmmaker artists. We'd put on shows of silent thematic films with live music, with bands, and it was a really fun time. But people started taking notice of me and hire me for things. But I put everything down to spend this time with my brother. And it really activated this investigative part of me that has always been there. And I started going around interviewing all my family members, and just like, all of that was not documentary. I did not put on my documentary filmmaker hat. I was just like, look, how do we understand what's going on here? How could we even find a lead to find her or understand what happened with her leaving? That wasn't documentary. What it was just like me trying to figure something out.
Yeah, and you being a good brother and concerned family member. I mean, like it's such a lovely impulse, that led you to make this film, and not in a careerist way. Like you're going to use the tools of filmmaking to, I'm sure you didn't understand this at the time, but to like really face something traumatic and work through it with your family.
It gave a framework.
There's also something that could be said too. It's like I've always been a very observational person, and in a sense I've always been a cinematographer. So much so that like I could just be filming and filming and filming, and I'd be very, very happy doing just that. And just that it would be like, kind of a daily exercise thing for me, a native state for me. But in this instance, like to see myself, like that scene that you're describing in the family room, where I'm addressing the family and kind of calling out the skeletons in the closet and the elephant in the room at the same time.
You weren't thinking this will be a great scene in a film. You were like, I'm filming anyways, and I'm just gonna go do this.
To happen, and anyone that's ever, held a camera and started following through on some inspiration, that's how it works. It's just one thing leads to the next thing. You don't know why you're filming it. You don't know why it makes sense, or why it's beautiful, or why it's powerful, or why the camera goes to that. But it's something that starts to happen, and that's kind of what this movie is like the lens gets drawn to certain things.
Yeah. I wanna slice into what we're doing right now and say, I'd like to turn back around. There's actually a little spot next to the creek I want to go chill at.
Okay. Yeah, it's sweaty.
Yeah. So there's some shade over there. And let's talk about, let's head back this way. That's incredible. And what you just said about the camera finding what it needs, like the camera discovering the muse in the space and drawing in on that.
The camera was a close friend to me at the time, and I think that the camera was also like the glue between me and Sam at the time. Like it was like, here is our toy that we go out and we have these adventures with. So it was like, we didn't really know what the camera was doing, you know? We just knew that it brought something to us.
Well, and I want to just explain for the audience too that we're not talking about like just point and shoot, you know, like non-artistic filmmaking. Like what the little shorts you guys were making were technically really cool, and there's a lot of like overlays that you're doing and stop motion animation, and it's very playful, and it's also like technically, like you can tell that you guys were proficient in editing and shooting and concepting stories from an early age. So
I was really jealous watching it, and I like anytime we all, not every one of us, but almost all of us who end up doing this professionally in our late 40s started out with like a Sony Handycam or some other like little rinky-dink camera. And
Speaking of being technically proficient.
Speaking of rinky-dink cameras, making movies with our friends, like making little videos, whether it was with our brothers or with our buddies. And when I'm both like sad and a little glad that most of the movies, almost all the movies I made, did not survive. But if they had, I don't think I would have seen as much like creativity and planned sequencing and like cinematic treatment of what you put together with Sam and Sam 1 and Sam 2 and Sam 3 with the Blue Panther. Sam 6 looks like it's incredible. Can you speak a little bit about that, like the fun and the play that went into those early films?
Sure. Okay. Like if you're gonna rope your little brother into anything, it's gotta like have that level of play. I mean, certainly I could have made like high drama films at that time. Like I was thinking about really dramatic things, but I don't think that my brother would have been very patient for that.
Sure.
And so like I kind of like adapted like to the level of like what's gonna be. How can I speak these themes?
So hang on one second. We are stopping here for a minute to go into this community garden.
Well, it's a secret pathway to the little creek spot I want to hang out at. But this community garden is pretty sweet.
I was inspired by filmmakers like Norman McLaren, Canadian animator and filmmaker, and
absolutely. The National Film Board of Canada stuff was really big for me when I was first starting out. I love all those.
And you know, what I could see from his lens was like he didn't need very much. He didn't really need very much to tell a powerful story like Neighbors, which is just like this pixelation animation of like two neighbors and how they lay a fence between their houses and how they start to just like evolve toward violence. So as a teenage filmmaker, I was like, you know, maybe I can do this thing that I want to do. I don't have any money. Like maybe I can start to tell some ideas through no crew and a camera and my little brother. Yeah.
And at some point, it went from play to a documentary.
At some point in there, that happened, and I think it's actually that family room conversation.
That scene that we're talking about.
That was the flip where it was like, wait a minute. It was like this wait a minute moment. I mean, the truth is, along the way, there's always, as you're rolling, maybe this can be something, maybe this is going to be a story, maybe this is going to be a thing, but what was overriding that until that point was, this is for Sam. This is just for Sam. Yeah. This is a contract I have with my brother, which is I'm going to help you. And then, you know, of course, like as the movie goes on, that relationship kind of starts to change. In the family room scene, I really start to own that I have something that I now, as a filmmaker and as a family member, need to understand, right? It's Sam's kind of gotten what he wants at this point. He's like reconnected with his mom. Everything's settled. Everything's good. He's got what he wants. But now it's on me, and I've recorded everyone. I've seen everyone's perspective. Sam hasn't. And now I have that.
Yeah.
And that's a problem. For any documentary filmmaker, that becomes a problem. Because you now hold all this information of all these folks. These are my family members mostly. And what do you do with that? in my opinion, that's when you become a documentary filmmaker, because you're like thinking now this is a little bit more like my story to hold, and I gotta say something about it. It's a movie about saying things, and when
about confronting trauma. I mean, that's really what it was. And I feel like it's such. You mentioned the 7 Up series earlier, and I feel like in that it starts with this premise that if you show me the child at 7, and I'll show you the adult, right? And then that movie tracks whether or not that theory exists. And I feel like in this movie, even though Sam is the main character and it's called Sam Now, we're also watching you as a empathetic person, a brother, and a filmmaker grow and mature. And I think you start to understand, like you just said, that this is a gift that you're giving to your brother. And also to yourself by investigating, like helping your family sort of confront this thing. And then it's so interesting that impulse, as pure as that is, then also leads you to a fantastic film, right? It's like if you had been thinking about it as a conniving filmmaker, you wouldn't have maybe cracked the code or been in a place where you could have made this movie.
This movie is all about leaning into the magical realm of like, what if we're just making a movie and this happens and then this happens, and what if this were to happen, and what if the Blue Panther's involved in this? That thinking, that what if, like, what if we could find your mom?
Right.
But it's not a movie about somebody who dies. No. There's a safe territory here where it's not a movie about like a murder or somebody has just died. It's a movie about like somebody who's made a decision, a fantastic decision, to almost walk through that portal right there into a new life. Could you imagine that? Like, what if you just walked through that door and you're just like all of a sudden in a new family, you're in a new narrative. Your whole life is in front of you. Everything that was behind you, including your kids, are now not a part of what you're doing.
Right. And that's what's so intense about the movie. And it's so amazing because it's just so hard to understand why she made that choice. And I, as somebody who's watched the movie, I still don't really understand why she made that choice. And I think there's, you do a good job of sort of leaving it, hearing from her and her perspective is why, but also leaving it open. And has she seen the movie?
As far as I know, she hasn't. Before releasing the movie, before screening the movie, I had invited her to like have a private screening or come to a screening, and it was she wasn't ready. And as time passed, I invited her to more screenings. I was like, it kind of felt more urgent, even. Like, I was like, well, you got to see this because this. You're gonna probably, it's gonna come back to you some way. You're gonna hear it from other people. And the last word on it from her was, "I don't think I'll ever be ready." And
wow.
And maybe she has watched the movie and she just doesn't want to tell me. But
that feels very Joyce to me.
That would also be a thing, and that's fine too. But it was for me as a filmmaker, as a maker, as an artist, to get over this part of, do I need her to watch that movie, to feel okay? Mm-hmm. I'm worried about her. I'm holding her a little bit and being like, I'm concerned, that she's going to read something or somebody's going to come to her and how could you do this to your family and not know what the film is. But
God, that speaks to you as such an empathetic person, that you're concerned about Joyce getting vilified because she really did this to herself, and she, like
she didn't make a movie to herself, right? Like to air your family's business. I've never done it, and I have to tell you, like, there's a part of me when I watch movies like Sam Now that always is like a little worried I'm going to be trapped at the kitchen table during some family's like dirty laundry session that I can't get out of. And I've like agreed to be here for, I came over for dinner and it's like, I can't wait for dessert to get out. And I didn't ever get there with Sam Now, but I do get there sometimes in personal films when it's not done by with such an empathetic mission at heart. and it's not balanced as well as what you've done.
Yeah,
and
it
I
feels
worry
so-
about that.
Yeah, I completely hear that, and
Yeah.
but it's so organic in your case because you said you guys were already making these films, and it's such an extension of what you're already doing that it never feels like, you know, we see that moment where you're like, now I'm going to make a film that I can get funding for to go, you know, like there's never like a careerist moment. It always feels very like you were doing this anyway.
Over the years, you know, this is like this is decades, you know, like my relationship with my brother starts to shift. One of the conversations we had off camera, which, you know, would have been beautiful on camera, is Sam asked me, can we make sure to at least spend as much time without any talk of movies or cameras as we do with talk of documentary or cameras or with a camera around? And that was like a, you know,
Little
complicated wake-up call for me, right? Like, how much is this sort of important to me to be tracked, to be doing the Up series with Sam,
Right.
and every time that there's like a potential moment, having a camera at the ready, you know, and that is a really messed up concept. This is my brother. I love my brother. So how do I
Yeah, because the Up series makers are not related to the subjects.
And
They have that. They have the emotional distance.
they're now, I mean, from doing it over time, they are related, but they're not, you know, they're not in family.
Right.
But I bet that they feel like family a little bit, because I bet that there's conversations that they've only had with the filmmakers and they haven't had with their family. But yeah, so this became a thing, and I was like, oh yeah, totally, let's do that. And so, you know, we, you know, to Sam's credit, introduced like kind of an ethical technology into the process starting in like the 2015 on of like just having connection time, going on walks like this, no cameras involved.
We don't know what that's like.
Yeah. and how that was really like so useful to.
I just know how to edit those. Like I can't go back.
It became so, yeah, giving you this tip, guys. So like, you know, it became so useful to our relationship as it is now after the movie, because that line wasn't broken. We
Right.
still know how to, like,
You're still
you know,
brothers, and
we're-
you're not just
yeah.
camera and subject.
Yeah.
You know, I have to say, when you first described Sam now to me, so I've known Reed for a little more than a year, but we know each other pretty well. We've spent a lot of time talking about life, talking about work, talking about feelings. He's a very thoughtful, deep person. He's been there for me as a friend. I hope I've been there for him. It's been a really fun getting to know you. It's like one of my favorite new relationships of my adult life. But I hadn't seen his work, and I'd heard like all these like pieces, like these little drips and drabs about it. And when
Drip.
when the idea of Sam Now was kind of made clearer for me before I actually watched it, I realized this is going to be great for me and Ben to bond over, because we always ask filmmakers on these walks, like, what is the gateway film? Like, what is the gateway drug that got you into film? And in a lot of ways, Ben often talks about Sherman's March. And for me, in documentary, the gateway drug is 7-Up. And so this film is as close of a Venn diagram experience of 7-Up meets 7-Up meets Sherman's March in a lot of ways to me. I don't want to, you know, I don't mean to diminish it through comparison, but those are two pretty good comps. I want to talk to you about meaning. Like you've gone on this whole journey, right? We've talked about feeling. We talked about like ethics. And we've talked about complications. But I do want to talk about like meaning and like what it means. And I want to do it by going through this gateway right here.
Through the portal.
Down into this portal. And so just to give you our audience a chance to kind of catch up to where we are, we're in East Austin on the Boggy Creek Trail. We are between 12th Street and MLK. Right? This is a community garden. I think you're hearing a duck over there. And then there's this portal. And I have been coming to this portal for years. I've come here with my son. I've done a lot of deep thinking at the creekside down there, and it's about 5 degrees cooler down there. So I suggest we go through this portal and explore meaning.
I loved that spiel, but we'll walk through the portal and find out.
Watch your step.
Wow, I walked through a gateway. So by meaning, are you looking for...
Well, what does the film mean to you, and what do you think it means to audiences? And often, I think, those are two different things, right? As filmmakers, we have to decide for ourselves, and what it means is often different at the end than it was at the start. We have to kind of answer a lot of questions about why we're making films in grant applications and in pitches. And so we come up with answers on the front side of documentaries that don't always stand up in the backside. So I'm curious, like, what the film has meant, where you found meaning in it. But I'm also really curious, like, where other people have found meaning in it.
Yeah. Multiple levels of meaning for me in this movie. Obviously, it's my family, and, it's also like hard to say this, but it's a life story. Like, me reckoning also with myself as a creative person, as an artist, and as somebody who feels things. So it's like the thing that's really up for me right now is, like, I'm a child of divorce. My parents divorced when I was 18 months, and I was always going between houses my whole life, right? I think one of the gifts from that is that I had a different perspective at each house and each family. And this is what I kind of attribute to, like, how does like a film like this start to happen? It's like one person in the family, it doesn't have to be by divorce, has a different perspective. Who knows how that happens, Maybe you're thought of as the black sheep in the family. Maybe something that has happened to you, it feels very lonely. In this story is about that, and I think that's what resonates for people, is that it's like being the family member that, like, has to, like, say something or do something or take action. It's a situation, it's a trauma in family, and it's also about choices, right? Joyce makes a decision. Sam and I make a decision. All people have choices. So I've found with audiences, like, some of my favorite audience experiences have been maybe not what you'd expect. It's not like the thing that where it's like everybody claps and is like, that's the best movie I ever saw, I love that. My favorite audience experience was in Sacramento. I was doing a screening. I was with some people from the ACEs world, Adverse Childhood Experiences therapists, and we came up and did the Q&A, and there was no question. There was no questions asked. Instead, people just took the mic and just said, I'm really angry. I'm really angry with what Joyce did, and I can't get over that. And then the next person that spoke was just like, I relate to Joyce. I was a child of adoption, and I feel really seen. And the next person that spoke said something like, I just really identify with your dad. So there's something really powerful to me about seeing that that the work can speak to a lot of different people, and a lot of it, we all come from some level of family, right? So, like, knowing that all of those pieces were kind of landing. And then there's also the brother relationship, you know, if you have a sibling, what that means. So I had also experienced people would come to a screening at a film festival, and then they'd come back the next day with a family member.
Wow.
And that was kind of the light bulb moment, was just like, oh, it's not just for a person, it's for people who are in relationship and don't know how to talk about something really complicated.
I want to get a little B-roll of this creek.
Oh, yeah.
Because I think
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
just
Let's go down there for a second. Can I walk in here?
Yeah, go for it.
There's some bottles. Careful. Ah, that feels good. I love that. Ooh, this is nice. Ah, much better. This is your spot, Keith?
This is one of them, yeah. I got a lot of spots.
It's a good one.
During COVID, like, this is like the perfect distance. I had that little plastic seat on the back of my bike, and I would ride my boy here. We'd go explore the garden and then kind of come down here and skip stones and hang out.
I love it. See if I can find a stone. There's one. No, there's one. Not enough water to skip. Let's see what we can do. Skipping stones is a great thing, isn't it? I love water and I love rocks. There we go.
Let's just get a little tone here.
It's a nice spot right there. It's pretty up there.
Yeah.
All right, here we go. We're walking out.
Back through the portal.
We have gone into a portal. We have been bathed in the creek. Now we're coming back out the other side.
All right, we're getting close here to the end. Reed, talk to us about what's next.
Oh, I'm so glad you asked. I'm really excited about what I'm working on. It's in development, and again, it's not a documentary, or it doesn't feel like a documentary right now. But it's exploring the same journey I've been on with my brother and getting deeper into it. There's an itch to scratch still around masculinity and brotherhood that I want to go further into. I think that I've noticed that a lot of the fans of Sam Now are women, and there's a quality that I really am interested in with just like being a brother, and I'm thinking about the patriarchy, and I'm thinking about this forgottenness of male rites of passage. And I think that Sam and I went on a pretty significant one by going on this road trip together. I don't know what it is to be a man definitively. I don't have an idea, but I know what it is to be a brother. And so Sam and I are working on a scripted piece now that uses elements of Sam Now and uses this sort of language that we've learned together as brothers to speak a little bit more about brotherly connection. Yeah, that's what I'm up to right now. I have no idea what it's going to become, but I've been loving the work. So far we've written about 100 short stories together about our time together that is like...
Holy smokes.
Yeah, it's just like, this is our development, you know. This is also thinking from somebody who's made a documentary before, like this. It's like source material,
right?
Material to
create and collect,
to work from. So will it be printed as a novel of some kind? Will it be a screenplay? We'll find out. But I'm just loving the process. The end of the movie, one of the last things I say is, I just want to hang out with my brother like we used to. I don't know if that relates to anyone, but that's up for me. It's still up for me. I want to reconnect. I want to be somebody who just like enjoys going on a walk with my brother, with another person. Just enjoy the experience of being here.
Well, I've definitely enjoyed this experience. So
Yeah.
thank you so much for going on a walk with us and for making such a beautiful movie that we can think so deeply about. Well, we're coming up on the car. Reed, thank you so much for doing this. This is
Yeah,
great.
thank you guys.
Yeah.
Oh my
Reed,
God. Sweaty hugs.
Sweaty.
Yeah.
That was Reed Harkness, everybody. I don't want to go overboard and say that this has been my absolute favorite walk of this series, but this is absolutely at the top of the list.
You know what I loved?
Tell me.
I loved that Reed is so thoughtful. It's not a surprise if for anybody who's seen Sam Now, which is such an unbelievably thoughtful film. But I loved his sort of collision of what felt like working through something really significant, traumatic, and dangerous because it's with his family, that then like transcends and he's able to share with a bunch of other people. And then I felt like we kind of got a little bit of that on our walk with him. So it was almost like an extension of the movie.
I can appreciate that. What I love about this walk and what I love about Reed is that he is in touch with his feelings, with his emotions, and kind of with the world around him. And so when we walk through that portal, he immediately took to that water, and without a second's hesitation, he just popped his shoes off and stepped into that water in kind of this like childlike fervor for adventure and connection that I think I've lost somewhere along the way.
Me too. I was very worried about Giardia and whatever could be living in the creek.
What?
And I'm so thankful that Reed wasn't.
He's a sensitive guy. He's an interesting guy. He's a curious guy, and his work kind of brings all that to focus in a way that I don't know any of the other filmmakers that we focused on, you and me included, have done anything that's kind of like so textured with like the internal becoming external and just his personal story laid bare. So if you haven't seen Sam Now, please run out and see it.
And I was going to say the only other filmmaker who I think comes close is maybe our next week's guest.
Oh, that's a good tee up. Next week's guest, of course, is renowned fiction filmmaker Greg Quidar.
Although he is a documentarian at heart, and you will understand why when you listen to the episode.
That's kind of what's coming up next. We've got Greg Quidar, Oscar nominee for Best Adapted Screenplay for Sing Sing. Greg directed Sing Sing. He developed Sing Sing over the last 6 or 7 years. And like Ben just said, it was a documentary process at play.
Mm-hmm. For a beautiful fiction film as a result, but that has actual people in it who are prisoners in the prison where they're filming. So
That's
it's a
right.
really interesting hybrid, and we talked to Greg all about his approach.
So Sing Sing, starring Coleman Domingo, starring real people doing a fictionalized account of their own stories. It's a beautiful film released by A24 last year. Won all kinds of awards, was nominated for all kinds of awards. And Greg just also happens to be an Austin filmmaker and a friend of both of ours. Mm-hmm. And we're going to go for a really great walk around Hyde Park, learning about his process, learning about his background, and hopefully spotting some birds.
You and the birds. All right, stay tuned, everybody. Thanks.
We will catch you next time on Doc Walks. Doc Walks is created, produced, and edited by my friend Ben Steinbauer of The Bear.
Hello. And my friend Keith Maitland of Go Valley.
Thanks for tuning in.
Follow us at DocWalksPod on Instagram, X, and YouTube.